I want to see going up against NIP.
All right, let's see how clean UOL can play. We just saw G2, one of the former Kings, taking down the number 5 squad in the group fairly convincingly. And in picks and bans today, Shin, Rakan, Elise, Talia all removed from the table. I quite like that Talia ban versus Nagnate. Definitely one of his more proficient champions, albeit he doesn't use that Weaver's Wall to help out Prophet as much as maybe I would like. And regardless, it's taken out the pool. What are we seeing next? I mean, Zach is still up. Was up.
Well, it was. It was up indeed. Thresh is still available. Very common meta pick. Sproul has demonstrated that he can play it. One of his usual go-to picks. Tahm Kench is another option. Surprised that the Unicorns are banning away the Caitlyn, but I suppose that they don't want to allow Hiku to get his hands on that. And Unicorns, we do know that Hylissang is more than happy to play things like the Tahm Kench, like the Braum. He's also probably willing to play Rakan into a Thresh if it gets locked in, so they're not too afraid of giving that pick away.
All right, let's find out what it will be. There we go, Thresh locked in. Unicorns of Love have a plethora of champions to choose from. And with the versatility of Xerxes in the jungle, something that kind of unlocks and frees up the rest of the team, because you can leave that jungle pick to later in the draft and feel confident that Xerxes will get something. That's why you see the Galio flex and Twitch locked in for Samux.
Well, already we can see the beginning of a composition being built around Samux. Would not be surprised to see the Tahm Kench come out relatively soon to make sure that he does have a decent laning phase, but it's going to be difficult because you're looking at something like a Varus, or maybe even the resurgence of the Jhin, so you have quite a lot of kill threat down in that bottom lane, especially around the level 6 mark when you have a Thresh and a Jhin. It'll be exciting to see what Hiku can do with it. As, yeah. Oh, wow, okay. I think this is a little ballsy, to be totally honest. I feel like there were safer options, and instead Hylissang goes, but I want to make plays.
3 games played, 3 wins for Hylissang's Blitzcrank. He's gone 4-8-38 in terms of his Blitzcrank games this split. I'm very excited to see him make plays, and when you've got a champion like Jhin, just wait for him to put the curtain call down and pluck him right out of that ultimate.
Yes, assuming he's not running away from the Jhin, that is.
Hylissang run away?
That's very valid, yep.
Vedius, do you hear what you're saying? Hylissang is the frontline man for UOL. He does not know how to retreat.
Well, now that Warwick has been banned off the board, we are looking at a few more of the unique jungle picks that have come out from Xerxes in the past. I have heard him talk a lot about how he thinks that Kindred could be viable. I don't know if he's going to pick it this time round, but I feel like something like a Hecarim, like he brought out last week, would be absolutely fine here. He could go for the Gragas as well, something a little bit more scaling, because you wouldn't typically expect like a Kha'Zix or a Lee Sin to come out from Xerxes.
We'll find out what Xerxes will be running in a few moments' time. Cassiopeia, Fiora are the 2 bans in phase 2 for the Unicorns of Love. And over on the other side, it is a Gragas removed from the pool, so another one of Xerxes' potential junglers. Are we still expecting this Galio to go with Vizicachi in the top lane, or do you think Exile will play it? They have both played it in the past, this split as well.
Yeah. Right now, it's quite tough to say. I'm expecting it more so to be in the top lane. I feel that Chachi recently has had very strong performances when he's played things like the Shen. And fascinating that Samux has decided to go for the slight deviation.
First time Kha'Zix. Not seen him play that yet.
This split, I believe, yes.
There we go. This split, to be more specific. My stat sheet's only reference this split, the last 3 patches. And there we go. So it's still got that flexibility with the Galio. NIP need to lock in their solo laners, and that will allow either Exile or Vizicachi the counter pick. And Renekton is secured for profits.
So I'm thinking about mid laners. He could go for something safe like a Corki, or he could go for something like an Orianna. Just something that's blind pickable and doesn't really have a huge amount of weaknesses. You've got a great siege setup and good pick potential coming out from Ninjas and Pyjamas right now. I'd really like to see a Cassidy come out from Exile. I think it's a really good matchup for him into the Corki, and it gives you this really nice 1-3-1 setup as well. A lot of mobility too to dive onto the back line. Instead, they're just going to put the Galio in the mid lane.
All right, so focusing on the potential mid lane counters, it's going to end up being the Galio. That first rotation draft for UOL. You've mentioned the NIP squad. You've got that Renekton. You've got some pick potential with Corki, Jhin, Rek'Sai that can skirmish well. What does the UOL squad want to do?
Do I really have to spell it?
I'm just checking.
It's definitely team fight. Great shot.
Really?
It is for sure team fight. Very much about scaling, making sure that they hit those item spikes. Their win condition is all about playing around things like the Dragon or the Baron and saying, we're going to 5v5 you because we know we have the ability to just outperform you when we play as a team.
But Vedius, we know that NIP don't team fight. We know that Prophet does not opt into that, and he's not a champion that can play that side lane. So how on earth do NIP try to handle this death ball of a team composition?
I mean, they've effectively given the Unicorns of Love a composition which is perfect for the Unicorns of Love. So if they upset them, it will be when the Unicorns are playing at their best with a style that they are most comfortable with. I want to see early pressure from Shook. Last time we saw them play up against Mysterious Monkeys, game 1, he had done 0 damage by the 16-minute mark, and he needs to get Prophet ahead.
And that was a game that I remember Deficio talking on the analyst desk about how Amazing had split the map and Shook had not contested it. Let's see whether or not Shook will be contesting the Unicorns of Love. He's going up against Xerxes, and Xerxes will be playing Kha'Zix for the first time. It's game 1, Ninjas taking on Unicorns. And for the Unicorns of Love, let's see if they can make a statement. They've definitely got some crowd support here in Berlin.
I'm sure that the Unicorns fans want the Unicorns to be looking good, given that Rift Rivals will be starting next Wednesday. And they will be one of Europe's 3 representatives. So that's always going to be exciting. We have so many unique playstyles here in Europe. And I can't wait to see how well they do match up against the North American squad. So, speaking about that special playstyle from the Unicorns, we talked a little bit about how their win condition is very much about team fighting around the Dragon and the Baron. That does mean, though, that during the laning phase, they will suffer. Renekton, very good at pushing in. Rumble can usually hold his own, but with the recent nerfs that happened to Rumble, his early pushing power is not as strong as he used to be. So it's very easy for Prophet to get that pushing advantage and maybe even set up for a dive with Shook.
The thing is, that's not out of Unicorns of Love wheelhouse. As a team, they average a 400 gold advantage at 15 minutes. And we continually talk about how sort of from 18, 20 minutes to 25, Unicorns seem to find a way to just fight around an objective or, you know, force an error from their opponent and win out in team fights. So Unicorns, let's see if they can do the same. Play the status quo and then allow their death ball comp to just take over.
Yep. Interesting that Nagne has decided to go for an early shield, the Doran shield, up against the Galio. Because he has the range advantage, you would naturally expect him to go for something a little bit more aggressive. But he's valuing the sustain. He's a little worried about the poke and maybe the trading pattern of Exile in that mid lane matchup, that he's decided that he wants to go a little bit more defensive, and he's thinking about later on into the game.
I quite like that Galio pick as well. Just going to mitigate so much damage. Itemization works into a Corki as well, all that magic damage. And then Exile can just jump into the lanes. One of the things, Vedius, you talked a lot about on Exile when he played Cassidy last week. When Exile has problems in lane, he tends to overstep, get caught out, play a champion like Cassidy. You literally can't do that. The champion doesn't let you.
Yes. Exile as an individual has been one that we've been following a lot because he has not had the same level of performance that we are used to seeing based on his Spring Split. We might not have time for that as Shook is walking face first into Xerxes.
All right, let's see. Where does the damage come from? Blue buff versus red buff. Missiles come out from Xerxes. Level 3 on level 3. Defensive leap away. Does not want to pick a fight with what is one of, if not the strongest early game jungler on the patch.
Yes, Shook very, very strong with this Rek'Sai this early on into the game, especially with the red buff versus the blue buff too. He gets a bit of health regeneration. I love the path that he's taken, going from bottom side straight into the enemy jungle. Level 3 steals away the red. This is going to put Xerxes behind early on.
And this is exactly what you said you wanted to see from Shook. Some earlier game plays, some additional pressure on the map. So Shook, with the help of Prophet, setting up a potential dive. While that's going on, by the way, Samix and Hilly are being shoved in by Hiku and Sprotle. We saw a trade, and look at the CS difference, 22 to 7 right now. It's a not insignificant amount.
And this is very much what you would expect. This is why I feel like that the Blitzcrank pick was a bit of a risky one, because the all-in power of the Jhin and the Thresh is devastating. And if a single hook lands, you're in so much trouble as Shook makes his way up to the top lane.
All right, Prophet is going to get that Ruthless Predator down. Slices one. I think he's held onto the dice. That's a flash engage from Shook. Prophet was turning away. Prophet was not on the same page.
I feel like that was poor communication on Shook's end because Prophet had already used his stun onto the Rumble to get a favorable trade. Everything was on cooldown, and Shook still decides to flash underneath the tower and doesn't even get the flash out from Chachi on the other side. We saw the exact same play happen last week where Shook ended up dying underneath the tower up against Kikis, and this communication between the top lane and jungle is a big point of weakness that is still demonstrated here.
Well, fool me once, shame on me. Vizichachi, fool me twice, shame on you. He's got the flash available, stun comes out. Vizichachi needs to flash away, does, and still dies.
Really good setup from NIP. They make the return gank. Even though Chachi still has his flash, it is this time better set up because Prophet lands his stun. They get the knockup coming out from Shook, and with the red buff and the level 4 damage from that Rek'Sai, they're able to secure a slight advantage. This is exactly what we wanted to see from NIP.
Well, very nicely done. Ninjas and Pyjamas plus 1,000 gold. They've got a CS advantage in the top lane, in the mid lane, in the AD carry lane, in every lane. And kind of expected.
Yes, very, very much so.
You did mention this. I always wonder how much of a lead do you need when you have a comp that is stronger in lane, you know? Because if you have to win lane, they never say about how much or how heavily. So that's what I want to look for. How else can NIP take advantages over the next few minutes before UOL gets switched online?
I'd love to see it play down bot side, right? Because right now, with the TP down for Chachi and the teleport advantage the Prophet has, a bottom lane play could be a big swing factor going in the favor of NIP. And it doesn't happen right now, but the setup should start to begin. And I feel like when you look at this bottom lane for the Unicorns of Love, Samux and Hylissang could be a big point as another gank happens up top lane.
Okay, Vizichachi starts to overheat, moves forward onto Prophet. Prophet gets the stun down. Here comes Shook. Vizichachi's roaming to the side, double wards for double the vision. Knockup not actually going to land, doesn't really matter. Vizichachi goes down to Prophet.
Oh, looks like Shook has gone camping this weekend because Chachi is not having a fun time as another kill goes in the favor of NIP. They should be able to get a lot of damage down onto that tower, especially with the TP unavailable for Chachi. But things looking very bright for the early game of NIP. I feel like we've said this many a time before, Quick Shot. It was even in game 2 that NIP had a 2,000 to 3,000 gold lead over the Mysterious Monkeys, and then they made one bad mid play that resulted in their disaster.
Yeah, and NIP had leads over, was it H2K last week as well?
Yep.
In the early game. It's those next steps that matter. But one thing we did see earlier this week, when Prophet is able to play a side lane, he can do it very well. We'll talk about that in a moment because there's some shenanigans being set up. Rocket grab, needs to find a target, and it does. Sprottle's the man. Exile comes in with a hero's entrance, needs to find the taunt as Hilly's running for his life. Here comes Prophet. Dominus is activated. Samux gets his first kill of the game. It might not be his last.
Ooh.
Shook tags with the Praise Seeker. Not going to get the Void Rush just yet. Prophet not going to be able to get more. The Rocket! Not enough damage! Samux running for his life. He dodges the second. There's a big one. Prime. Justice Punch! Not going to get the kill. Nagne does in the end. He's looking for a third. Got the second already. Exiles the target. And Shook sinks the fangs in.
And NIP get 3 swift kills down in the bottom lane. Very likely going to be the first tower of the game as well. And have snowballed this game to the exact way in which they needed to. I was just about to talk about how Unicorns of Love making this proactive play down in the bottom lane, setting up Samux for success. One of the better, or one of the best performing AD carries in Europe right now. But we're going to have to wait for that because another play is happening in the top lane.
No story time today, Vedius. Lantern comes out as the Dark Passage. He's going to at least pull Sprotle and Prophet together. Death Sentence comes down. Vizichachi's used his equalizer. There's no flash available. And to go back to story time, Vedius, you highlighted Prophet having TP. You highlighted how Prophet could make that play happen. And it was a counter to OL, and man, they made that work.
Yeah, so many things happened in that setup. like a lot of things, right?
Hold that thought.
We might have to stop. Because, go on, Agne, go, fight him.
Well, and Agne is not going to unleash his package yet. Exile's able to walk away. And Vedius.
Oh no.
Not over yet. Hylissang's now going to be the target. Slice comes out, Root as well. Death Sentence plans, and Hellasang's gonna go down. Kill donated to Hikyu, the 7th in 9 minutes.
Oh, man. I don't think the action's over yet because Nagne, he's coming to swing his package round.
He is, and Xerxes the target. Is he impressed? The answer is no. A defensive leap to safety. And Exile makes his way out, but NIP have got absolute control of the top quadrant of the map, and they are looking at that top tower.
It does not matter that they were not able to get themselves the kill because they have the pressure advantage. They decided to swap Hikyu and Sprattle up to the top side of the map to start hitting down to this tower. They want to get it before Yoel can make some kind of proactive play happen down in the bottom lane, and they're just trying to shut Chachi down. I love this style coming out from NIP. They are investing all these resources into Profit, and it's just what we wanted to see from them for so many weeks.
Well, Vedius, a few interesting facts for you. The average gold lead at 13 minutes before yesterday for teams in the EU LCS was 1,400 gold.
Right.
At 10 minutes, NIP have already got a 3,800 gold lead.
And what happened to Misfits when they had that kind of a lead at 13 minutes, Trevor?
That's the point I'm trying to get to. NIP have got a phenomenal advantage, but they need to play the next few minutes well. Do not overextend. Do not allow UOL's team comp to get those big team fights. One other thing, this is the most amount of kills NIP have secured before 15 minutes all split long. Previous record was 5. We've already got 7, and they had that about a minute and a half ago.
I really want to know Shook's damage dealt, to be totally honest with you, because when you compare that to their series versus I feel like the Rek'Sai is the perfect champion for how he is utilizing this early game pressure. And we have to backtrack, right? Because we didn't even get a chance to talk about that play that happened down the bottom lane. Too much action has happened, and we have to rewind, but I might not get the opportunity.
UOL and NIP.
Stop!
Just keep
Let me talk League of Legends. Right, let's do a quick recap. The NIP, they drafted for early pressure. They had strong lanes all across the board. Corki, Jin, Renekton, all about snowballing. And in the past, NIP were not that strong at utilizing this early pressure to their advantage. But this time, Shook, constantly invading, constantly making Xerxes' life difficult, enabled him to just get around the map and snowball all these different laners. And now they're in prime position. They've already taken down First Blood Tower in the bottom lane. They're set to take the top tier 1 tower as well. And NIP, they're just utilizing this early snowball incredibly effectively.
Yes, and this is the best early game we've seen from NIP. Ask and you shall receive, Vedius. You wanted to know how much damage Shook has dealt to champions this game? Well, our graphics team and our stats team have combined. There's total damage dealt to champions this game. Shook 1,700 to Xerxes 380.
That is 1,775% more damage than he did in the first 16 minutes of the game versus
Technically, that's not how percentages work.
Damn it!
That is a raw number more. I will give you that much. I will give you that much. And Shook this time round looking fantastic. Second tower of the game will fall. So this will give NIP around a 4,400 gold lead. And they have Rift Herald, so that can set them up to knock over Exile's tower in the mid lane.
Exactly that.
And that is where the game actually gets more complicated for NIP.
Yes, it does.
Now they have to play this 1-3-1, or they have to play the map with a double AD carry setup. How do they do that?
So, it becomes very difficult when you take this many towers this early on, because ideally, these 3 towers drop around the 20-minute mark, and then you start using Baron as a point of contention where you look to try and invade in the enemy jungle, you force the enemy out to try and fight them, and in the Unicorns of Love instance, what they wanted is a very slow early early game. But they're used to being in this position. They're used to falling behind, and what they excel at are these mid-game fights, but they have to wait for these item spikes to occur. So NIP, they have to keep the pressure on. They need to be setting up very effective deep vision in the top half of the map so that they can roam between these different lanes and start sieging onto these tier 2s.
Well, talking about that deep vision, NIP had spotted Hylissang and Samax's roam from top lane to middle all the way down. The observers actually toggled the vision to highlight it, and NIP with full information, they've set themselves up. I think it's Harriet, is what the EUCS broadcast is calling the Herald. She's going to hammer away on the outer turret here, gets it down to about 20%. The minion wave very quickly deleted.
But keep your eyes on Prophet down the bottom lane. He's drawing pressure away. But Unicorns, they're actually just grouping up as a 4-man unit in mids. And then Chachi immediately has to disengage. You realize he has to pick up this wave. He's already put so far behind that he needs to get whatever he can. But for the time being, Unicorns of Love, they hold on to that mid-tier 1. But NIP looking very, very good. But I'm hesitant to be optimistic because
we've not seen NIP in this position before.
I feel like that we've seen them with a gold lead before, and I've seen them like have a great early game.
This good? Of this caliber?
Yes.
Against an opponent like UOL?
But that just means that a throw is even...
it's not outside the realm of possibility, and the team composition from UOL absolutely is going to give them that possibility.
So now that the package has been picked up for Nagne, I'd love to see a flank from him, forcing UOL away from this mid tower so they can secure the objective, because they need to get this tower down to keep the momentum going in their favor.
Well, let's see where they go. As it stands, a ward from UOL will spot Nagne flying around the bottom half of the map. NIP are somewhat split up. Equalizer comes down to middle lane. Hiku's going to be the target of the rocket grab. Going to fly wide. Prophet and Hiku got their blue suede shoes on and they sidestep. So Equalizer just to clear the wave and buy time for the Unicorns of Love.
And notice what the Unicorns of Love are doing. They're investing so many of their side lane resources into their AD carry, Samux. We talked about him at the very start of the game. We talked about how the team composition was looking like it was starting to be built around them. And we can see that as an individual, he is one of the best performing AD carries in the split so far. The thing is, last split, I have to be a little brag here because I voted him as one of the best AD carries at this split. And a lot of people are like, how can you do that? Why are you giving that much support when there are AD carries like Reckless and Yanan and so many good performers? And I feel like he was so overshadowed by an amazing XR, by an amazing Chachi, that his presence was not really shown. And I feel like he is having so much more impact this split, especially with the recent underperformances of XR.
Yeah, and of course his Twitch plays this split have been fantastic. Well, Hiku pulls the curtains apart. Sends a couple of messages to Exile. Death Sentence finds the target as well. That will just allow the tower to fall. That's the third of the game. At 16 minutes, Ninjas in Pyjamas continue to play this early game exceptionally well.
Yes, very impressed. I love that utilization of the Jhin ultimate to just force people away from the tower. It was a very effective tool in spring that Hiku is able to utilize there, and they get themselves another objective. And as you rightly said, things start to get hard now. But based on the fantastic early game from NIP, I'm looking forward to seeing how well they set up this deep vision to better rotate between top and mid so they can start applying pressure. And as we reach that 20-minute mark, that Baron becomes an area that they can use to start trying to force fights when they have the item advantage.
Yeah, and of course, the man that's going to likely set that up will be Prophet. Side lane, definitely the split pusher on the team. Prophet, you can see 55% kill participation is the lowest of the entire league because he doesn't join the team. He's a split pusher by trade. That's why he's going toe-to-toe with Exile at the moment. Hero's entrance going to get used.
That's huge.
That's a very big cooldown to blow from Exile and allows NIP to continue setting up this play.
Yeah, I love the way NIP are playing on all three lanes right now. Unicorns of Love, they're backed against the wall. But again, like, you always have to be wary against the Unicorns because their horn is rather sharp, and if you back them too much, that they are not afraid to skewer you. So it's very much about how NIP handle this, because right now they are taking their time. They're being very slow. They're being very calculated. They don't want to throw away the great lead that they've built up for themselves. But at the same time, are they playing too scared? Are they playing too afraid of the risk of trying not to give UOL anything?
And of course, keep looking at the minimap, because one of the big playmakers for UOL is Hylissang's Blitzcrank. If he is spotted and in vision as he has been for the majority of this game, it's so easy for NIP to avoid that rocket grab, to avoid getting pulled into threats. And NIP have done a pretty good job with vision. You can see control wards and deep vision in the quadrant. Baron's only 2 minutes away. It's a big enough lead, but Baron is a very difficult target immediately as it spawns.
Yeah. And the thing you need to wait for is when the next Corki package is readily available, because that's going to be a very valuable tool that will enable NIP to force more of these fights. And right now, NIP, they're about half an item rather above their lane counterparts. You can see Blade of the Ruin King being finished up for Samux, and a Rush of an Infinity Edge for Hiku. Now, I had a great conversation with Sven about itemization on Jhin, and there was also this great guide on Reddit about all the different items that you can build and the way in which you can build all the options that you have for that champion. And the thing is, if you rush an Infinity Edge, your mid-game spike, much weaker. Usually you go Ghostblade into the Eye Edge so that you have a stronger 2-item spike, but if you go Eye Edge first and into something like a Rapid Fire Cannon, it means that you're going more towards the late game. So NIP, they're preparing for these later game fights that, with the lead that they have, they're hoping to win.
Wow, that's a good thing. Smite fight, one out by Shook. And a little bit of scaling for Hikyu's AD carry will work in their favor. They've got a lead already. Continues to give them headroom, and against this UOL comp, that will slowly become more powerful. They're still in a 6,000 gold hole. Vizichachi fancies himself a little bit of trade here with Prophet. Overheats with that Flame Spitter. Still no items completed, by the way. If you look at both of these top laners, mixed match of ingredients, but both of whom looking to get their first big ticket item.
Yeah, stacking a lot of armor because they're worried about how strong this Renekton is at this point in the game, especially. Bear in mind, Corki, he does a huge amount of magic damage right now. 80% of his basic attacks are magic damage as opposed to AD, so they do have that variation available to them as well. And in terms of vision investment, NIP, they're looking very promising. They have a good setup of control wards around the entrances to Baron. It now has spawned. And so this will be a point with which I'm excited to see NIP try and force things. Static Shiv, rather than the Rapid Fire Cannon, gives Hikyu a little bit of extra burst. And this is where I want to see them start to fight things. I just need to see when that package is coming back up and is available for Corki.
All right, Nagne, we'll keep our eyes on him in a moment or two, as the Unicorns are going to have to fend off these Baron plays. Earlier this game, Shook and Prophet were not on the same page with their very first gank. Now, it didn't matter, because Shook repeat ganked and made it work. However, that level of miscommunication simply cannot occur in the Baron pit. It cannot happen against a Rumble, Galio, Twitch.
Yep.
If they clump up, if they are like the Spartans and fight in a tight corridor, UOL will obliterate them with the push of 2 buttons.
Yes.
So, very careful here for NIP.
Just to clarify, those 2 buttons will be a Samux ulti and a Rumble ulti.
Thank you.
And those will...
it was implicit, but yes. I didn't make it clear.
Those ultis certainly hurt, and we've seen the Unicorns of Love do it multiple times. So, things at a standstill right now. We had high action from NIP earlier on. The gold lead has gradually gone in the favor of NIP, extending it now to just about 6,000. Very, very significant leads.
It is an incredibly significant lead, and it's very significant for a few reasons. NIP's largest gold lead at 20 minutes was actually against the Mysterious Monkeys. Plus 3,800. They've broken that record now. UOL's largest gold deficit at 20 minutes was 3,900 gold against H2K.
Damn.
They've broken that record now. Don't exactly know what the value was, but it was around 5,800 gold. Waiting for my stats team to give me the exact value. Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to extend that even further, getting themselves another Ocean Drake.
But you can see now that NIP, they really are struggling to know how to properly push the lead that they've gotten, because with this level of things slowing down, they just seem a little bit restrained. They're playing things very passively. They don't want to get hooked in by Hylissang. Right now, Shook, he's going to take a bit of damage, but this could be the big fight.
It can indeed. Curtain Call fires shots onto UOL. The first kill is onto Hylissang. Prophet comes in from the back line as a Justice Punch prevents his escape. Doesn't matter as NIP get themselves the kill, and they have teleport to play with.
So let's look at the ultimates that we use. Samux, Spray and Pray, gone. The Rumble Equalizer also gone. Hylissang is dead. NIP, they have their eyes on the Baron. Right now, they have good vision set up with very few vision from Unicorns of Love.
Very few vision indeed. Hikyu's going to take the Dark Passage to safety. Sprattle's waiting in the wings, but Hikyu playing confidently, going toe-to-toe with Chachi.
I feel like NIP, they missed an opportunity there, because the thing is, they still had a lot of things left in the kit. You can see right now, this is just a good punish from NIP. Hylissang, he oversteps just a little too much. That means that Shook goes in for the engage, and you have immediate follow-up from Hikyu, and because of the package from Nagne, he can join the fray very quickly as well. And at this point, you think, ooh, NIP, you've managed to burn a lot of ultimates out. Like, your team composition is not entirely reliant on your ultimates, maybe aside from Prophet to give him that extra tankiness, but I feel like they could have gone to the Baron and then just forced you well so they can get themselves a couple of extra kills. Instead, they just reset, and they haven't decided to keep pushing.
Not just yet. Ninjas in Pyjamas fairly content with their gold lead. and holding at around the river. They've only conceded a single kill to UOL, and they are significantly in the lead. Now, coming into this game, Ninjas and Pyjamas were on a 12-game loss streak.
Yep.
If they lost this, they would tie Dragonborns from spring of 2013. If they lost the series 2-0, they tie Origin of spring of this year. And they may actually cancel that. They may end that streak by taking down the Unicorns of Love.
Things are looking very positive for NIP right now. As Prophet, I think, is dead.
Well, Prophet alone gets caught out. Didn't see exactly how that happened. Flash rocket grab, maybe. Nagne is able to take a tower, and now NIP, are they starting to get caught out of position? UOL stampeding towards the top lane, gonna back off, as it's gonna be difficult to catch Corki and Thresh, and there's still a tower to contend with. UOL, by the way, towerless, not a single tower this game.
Very surprised that Prophet just randomly died in the middle lane. NIP, they had a really good setup because they had 3 in the jungle, and they also had Corki split pushing up in the top lane, which meant that all they needed to do was wave clear in mid and stop UOL just trying to steamroll down. It results in Prophet giving away his life, and UOL getting themselves on the board for towers, but the deficit is still great. They've reclaimed a lot of vision around the Baron area. If we could just toggle that in favor of UOL as well, you can see, but we don't have time because the TP flank is coming in.
Remember, Samux has no flash. Prophet's put down the Dominus up on the front line is shook. Equalizer comes down, splitting up the jungle. A deadly flourish is flashed away from as Exile puts the hero's entrance down. Prophet goes down to the back end as Exile's able to escape. The Ninjas in Pyjamas engage, and it fails. They do not find their kill, and they lose their top laner.
Exquisite ultimate from Vizicachi, cutting off the follow-up from NIP, making it impossible for them to help Prophet, and he is just sitting on the back line and trying to dismantle Samux, but the rest of UOL there to help the AD carry.
Twice now, Prophet has tried to flank and join a team fight, something we've not seen him do a whole lot. And twice now it has failed.
Get back on the side lane, Prophet, get back on the side lane. But you can see how this fight sets up. The setup is promising, but Jhin is nowhere near the fight. Corki is being zoned away because Exile's sitting on the front line. And Prophet, he has to run away. Prophet, he has to run away from his team because the rest of them are just forcing him back and peeling for Samux. And while the setup and the intention looked good, the execution not ideal for NIP. So the goal gap now closing slightly. Unicorns of Love, they are fighting back. A lot of those core items are starting to be completed. And if we look at the goal gap between the two AD carries in particular, I feel like it's not as big as meets the eye.
No, it really is not. 700 gold separates Hikyu and Samux. We talked about the items. Leandri's Torment and Hourglass picked up for Vizicachi. Hikyu, by the way, in terms of his skill order, only put a point into his E after his Q and W were maxed. Does not care about those traps. Really wants to get as many of those flourishes down and the damage from the grenades. And the Unicorns of Love, they're grouped up as 5. Their team comp is exceptionally powerful when team fighting, and that's what they're trying to set up. Ninjas in Pyjamas got priority in the mid lane for now, but they're at risk of being surrounded. Actually, they are being surrounded. Equalizer comes down, that's a great hook onto Shook, and he's gonna escape! The Lantern to safety! Whoa, Sprottle keeping Shook alive.
War indeed, Trevor. They've run down the mid lane, though. UOL, they're continuing with the chase.
They are indeed, young Vedius. As Xerxes gets caught out, the flourish roots him down. Flash death sentence into the box and flay.
That's the jungler dead. Things looking good for NIP. Xerxes, he over-aggresses. He feels like that the chase can continue, but the rest of his team have already disengaged. So many small interactions there, resulting in such clutch plays to get away with your life.
Samux was escaping to the red buff of his own jungle, and that allowed Prophet and the rest of NIP to push into the river. Control wards blocking out vision inside the pit and out of the pit. But there's an additional ward just out of range. UOL fully aware of this. Samux is coming in with spray and pray available. Baron's gonna go down, 1,500 hit points. Flash in from Exile, who picks up the Baron? It's secured by NIP. Samux is down, killed by Hikyu. The rest of NIP collapsing onto Chachi in Exile. Chachi goes golden, spitting flames. Not enough damage though, as Hikyu gets a double, looking for a triple with the grenades, finds his man, and NIP control the game.
Massive team fight win for the Ninjas in Pyjamas. Everything looking fantastic, and it all comes off the back of getting a pick onto Xerxes. The jungler goes down, there is no smite available, and NIP know they can force this. Just look at the damage output that is coming from Hikyu in this fight. He is not the focus whatsoever. Samex gets a little too close to the wall, an immediate follow-up flash in from Hikyu to guarantee the kill as well. Really good team fight overall from NIP. Shutting down those primary targets, knowing that without Samex being there to facilitate the damage, there's no way in which UOL can turn this around. And now things are looking bright for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
You have to believe the Ninjas are going to break their losing streak. With the gold lead, with the Baron, 30 minutes into the game, this Blitzcrank has been irrelevant. Vizichachi was removed from the game because of great combos from Shook and Prophet early. And then they removed Samex by a great counterplay. NIP have done what feels like everything right to open the series.
And the most important thing I feel to bear in mind is that, remember what we said at the beginning of the cast. This is a very standard Unicorns of Love composition. This is very much about scaling and team fighting. They took a few risks in the draft, but in the past, they've always been able to make it work because teams have struggled to turn an early game lead into a big enough snowball to prevent the Unicorns of Love to get to this team fight stage. And NIP are doing it. They are not allowing the Unicorns to group up properly. They are always finding optimal picks, and they are shutting down the playstyle that the Unicorns of Love have made themselves famous for in Europe.
Yeah, and exceptionally so. NIP had the biggest gold lead against UOL at 20 minutes that UOL suffered all split. UOL only took their first tower at 24 and a bit minutes. The latest tower they've taken. It's also the only tower they've taken. They've got no dragons to their name. They're dealing with opponents that are hella fed, and Baron buff, and 3 dragons. Ninjas in Pyjamas. Right, they've shown us they can play a great early game. They've shown us they can play a great mid game. Now we need to see how they close. That is the arguable most difficult part.
Yes, it is. Yes, it very much is. But you can see they've set themselves up for the 1-3-1. Prophet not entirely alone this time around. Shook is hanging around to help him as he takes down that tower. And now all 3 tier 2 towers are gone. Only the base is left for the Unicorns of Love. I can feel the ninjas getting excited around me. Very quietly, but they are in fact getting excited.
Well, you can't see them because they are ninjas. I learned that a few days ago, Velius.
Very true.
Because the Unicorns now have to fend off NIP. 1 minute left on Baron buff. It's not been the most successful objective-wise.
Hey, NIP getting a Baron, using it...
Objective-wise.
NIP getting a Baron, using it properly. I think that's positive.
And look at the vision. Look at all of that deep vision. NIP now just have to get over that final hurdle. That's a hell of a He predicts the lantern, finds the target, and shuts down Hikyu.
Beautiful hook from Hillisang. That robot ran fast. Hikyu, he just had no answer. The Righteous Glory into the predict hook, knowing that the lantern would be taken. Fantastic setup. They shut Hikyu down, and he is like a massive damage dealer that will dissuade the continued pressure being exerted by NIP.
8,600 gold is the lead for NIP. Here's this overdrive Righteous Glory.
Perfect pickup from Hillisang.
So good.
Silence as well. Hikyu, he can't do anything. He didn't have his flash anyway, but feels bad, man, for Hikyu. Great for Blitzcrank, though.
Yeah, definitely. One of the picks that UOL need just to keep buying time. They've defended their base, and that's the first blip for me. That's the first blip where I'm wondering if Unicorns can bring this back. How much magic do the Unicorns have? That's what we got to find out.
Yes, that'll be one of the big question marks. I still have this game heavily set in favor of NIP.
Oh, do you now?
I've always been a believer, Trevor. But you can see not the strongest of Baron power plays. They couldn't quite break into the base. They decided to split up the map, and NIP is still taking their time. They have an 8,000 or 9,000 rather gold lead right now. And so they're just hesitant. Like, this is a big deal for NIP. I can fully understand having been in a situation where you're going up against a team that everyone's expecting to destroy you, and then all of a sudden, things are not looking so good, and you're the team with the advantage. You don't want to throw it away by making a reckless decision. But at the same time, you don't want to be so passive that you allow them enough time to get items that they can actually win a fight. And look, 3 items are now finished for Samux. Xerxes just hit level 16, so he's got all 3 evolutions as well. GA completed, 3 items on Chachi with the Void Staff too. Like, this is a strong UOL team. They're poised and ready to team fight, and the most optimal time for them to fight is as NIP is right on their front door.
Look at Hylissang hiding in the bush. Control Ward there, knows he's not spotted, knows he's safe. Righteous Glory and Overdrive available, but the moment he moves, Shook will sense him with the Tremors. He's not going to find a target yet. Hylissang needs to go fishing. All right, Vedius, 1 minute to Baron, 1 minute to Ocean Drake. How do NIP play around this? You feel one of those is where UOL want a team fight.
Yes, so you have to kind of split UOL up or try and find a pick. They have the Thrash, they have the Jhin, they have great pick potential. We talked a lot about it during the draft. And the only way they can do that is if they keep Prophet in the side lane, drawing pressure away from the main NIP squad. If UOL ever go from a 4-man unit to a 3, that's the best time for them to go. And I noticed that NIP, they're conceding a surprising amount of vision, given that they should be the team that has main control around the river. But they wanted to go back, they wanted to spend some of their gold. So now should be the point. They know they're there. Shook should have spotted them out with a Tremor Sense.
So difficult. Righteous Glory and Overdrive hook gonna be short. Spartle's able to walk away. Spartle figures he can re-engage at the Flash Flay. Prophet's coming in from the back end as Shook sticks with the rest of the team in exile. Nagne now with Prophet. Hero's entrance or Hero's retreat. Exile's out the fight. Vizichachi takes 2 crits to the face and dodges the spatula. Exile's looking for the taunt from the Durand. Death Sentence pulls him back in. There's a lot of HP and damage to burn through. Exile still has 1,000 hit points and Nagne decides to re-engage. With a flourish, it's not deadly yet. Void Rush goes out from Shook and not enough damage to do
He's
the
back.
deed. Prophet is teleported in for the fight. Here comes Shook. Prey Seeker is caught. Then rocket grab on the back end. Nagne's gone forward. It's a 1 for 2. It's a 1 for 3. Nagne's not down. They split the difference as Xerxes and Hylissang run away. Ninjas in Pyjamas are looking for the ace. Prophet's going to try stun up Xerxes. He's got the GA under the towers and NIP are in the base.
But it doesn't matter, Trevor, because NIP have just won a huge team fight against the Unicorns of Love. They have a massive minion wave in the top lane. They're gonna break into the base, and with those death timers, I wonder if they try and end the game.
Ninjas in Pyjamas, 30 seconds on the clock in a 4v1. Xerxes gonna try and deal with his wave as best he can. Got the GA, that's popped. Shook and Prophet on the Nexus turrets. It's been 12 losses in a row. The Ninjas have suffered and struggled. And they have done it! The Nexus turrets are down, and the Ninjas in Pyjamas break their losing streak to take down UOL.
You can't help but feel happy for the Ninjas in Pyjamas. They did it.
They did not fall prey to that long-lasting losing streak. And finally, we see them play to their composition and make it work perfectly.
Vedius after that final fight. I turn to the audience, the Love Hurts crew and the UOL jerseys. There were some stunned, shocked faces as the Unicorns fall victim to Ninjas in Pyjamas. Dragonborn's record stays safe today. Origin's record stays safe today.
But let's look at some of these things, because while yes, NIP, they played fantastically. Shook, his early pressure amounted to so much of the early game advantage, but also the Blitzcrank pick, it was risky.
Yep.
The Kha'Zix pick, not looking ideal for Xerxes, finishing with a 3-2-1 scoreline. Like, the fact that Chachi got camped so much, there are a lot of issues, I feel, also on the side of the drafting for the Unicorns a lot.
Indeed, and a lot of praise to the Ninjas in Pyjamas who shocked UOL in Game 1. Len said it to Shocks for the full story.
Thank you very much, and shocked I am. NIP taking down the Unicorns of Love. Well, the Unicorns of Love are all figured out according to Sencook, but only by Splice and NIP. Damn, so is NIP just that good at team fighting, or how did they get the win in the
I think
end?
this was a bit different because they have quite a good scaling comp with Corki, and he starts out getting like 3 kills when he roams spot. He got like 2 kills and an assist. And also there was some a bit of ending in the top lane, a bit of feeding.
Well, was it Feeding Wonder, or did Vizichachi get properly targeted by Shook and Prophet?
I think Vizichachi normally plays kind of that style where he plays like really aggressive in lane, and he looks to exploit you in lane when you are maybe a bit nervous, like first game or something, and then it can be punished by these jungle games, but of course, like he should be able to avoid it. But he just didn't.
Should he get punished by it 2 times in a row is the question.
I mean, the first time he shouldn't have been punished for it because he even spotted Shook on a ward just before he died. Ultimately, although Chachi fell super far behind, the place Senkux was talking about was kind of the difference maker with the roam down bottom. This was the time where it could have been Nagnahian if it had broken the Origin losing streak. So this was the gank up to top side that was warded out. Chachi ends up dying. The ward had just expired after, but talk to me about what happens when Corki goes down bottom lane, gets 2 kills, Senkux.
This is the dream for Corki, that pretty much just starts out a fight and you just roam down and you see how slow it goes and it just sets up 3 kills for you pretty much. Like, it's a long chase, but Nagne played it pretty well when he like flashes in and a good cleanse to get all 3 kills. And even though I think he would have liked all 3, like there comes in the kill steal, but Corgi with 201 at that point in the game, you kind of have a good start, let's say that, first, because Corgi on like 4 items or something just will one-shot everybody in the game, and the same for Jin. So.
In the context of a game, it's obviously really good. I was asking you about Galio as a pick for Exile because we've had our fair bit of criticism of him. I felt that Galio would be a good pick for Exile, being a bit tanky, or being able to get a bit more in the front line and being able to escape at times or help your teammates. You didn't quite agree. Why is that?
I mean, I don't think of it as a Exile champion because it's kind of hard to create the place where he really likes to do with like the Shen ult usually. That's what they used to do, like Kassadin Shen and the Blanc Shen. It's still he's still okay on the champ. Like the champ just pretty much pushes and you roam around, but it's just not the biggest playmaker later on. You kind of just follow up, you clear waves, and you follow up with your ult, and then the one your ult cannot take damage. So I wouldn't say it as an Exile champion. It's just a strong champion in general, and he's good at it.
A bit of a massage there for Nico DeFico after his first win. He's going to get full value, also going to give the support who is suffering a bit. I hope it's not too bad there for Spradl, because if NIP want to win the series, they have to get another game on the board. And I think it's very good that they managed to win their first game wonder. And the big criticism of them has been, well, sometimes they do get early leads. So what was it in their composition or their play style in this case that enabled them to snowball?
Yeah, I think generally, like, also from scrimming NIP, they have been pretty good at, like, getting an early advantage and, like, playing out the early games pretty well. But then there's, like, the Prophet out on the side lane and maybe, like, the AD carry getting caught a bit too much. But actually not too much of that this game, and a bit more, like, I wouldn't say clean game, because it still took them a bit too long, maybe, and they didn't play properly around Nash a bit. But I think at least they played to the win conditions, and they had a comp where they couldn't really get punished on any lane. So
one of the reasons why it took a little bit longer is Unicorn's always difficult to deal with team fighting. They kind of group mid, get a hook onto the AD carry once or twice, but the one mistake Unicorns rarely make is being on different pages, and Xerxes chasing at the end of a team fight, trying with it. Look, Hylissang already backed away. Xerxes just sticks around a little bit too long and suddenly gets locked down. Spradl in with the combo here, and that's the jungler down. Suddenly Unicorns don't have the ability to contest the Baron anymore, and a rare miscommunication out of the Unicorns of Love is easily capitalized by NIP, and they end up cleaning up the fight. Samux, once again, despite having a Galio here in this game, did not survive through the majority of team fights.
Was it still a risky Baron in your guys' eyes?
Not really. Like, even let's say they die 2 guys or something from the fight and they don't get anyone because they misplayed or whatever, because that's what happens if they actually get something out of it, you will. Then they still have 3 Nashor buffs, and there should be no way they steal it when Kha'Zix is already dead. So I think it's a pretty safe Baron call to make.
And overall, quite surprised that NIP is able to finish it off that cleanly. Also, the fact that Nagne was splitting and Corki was top, that was a nice 1-3-1. So was it just a clean 1-3-1 that took down the mid-centered Unicorns of Love, Senkux?
I mean, Corki got quite fit, and I don't think anyone could deal with him in the side lane in general. He would just always push and could also take the tower whenever he wanted. So, I mean, the split push kind of won the game, I guess, but they still got caught a bit in mid. Like, Prophet just went up for a wave randomly and died for no reason. So there's still some mistakes that they should fix, but in general, like, they played a pretty good game after the early, which we haven't seen yet. And I also think the champions kind of fits that, because I think they actually outscale you well in this comp, and when you then get the early leads that they have had all split long, it gets kind of easier in a way.
Splyce being the masters of the European 1-3-1, I feel like it's easy to play more from ahead with that composition, right? But then I'm glad Romain has taken his pajamas off, because Unicorns needed to wake up. earlier in this
Has he?
game. Yeah, he took him off. He was wearing jeans when we saw him.
Oh, I
backstage.
thought you were implying something completely different.
Business time is now a go because he has
Business
pants
time.
on,
Okay.
pajamas are gone, wake up time. Unicorns, they need to fire back here. I don't know what you're thinking about.
I was talking.
It's
I'm
plus
thinking
18
slide
here.
of the Concords for some
PG
reason.
broadcast.
Anyway, Wonder, so if NIP want to replicate this success, which picks do they absolutely have to get their hands on again for game 2?
I think they did pretty well with actually Hikyu on Jin, and I think the Corki as well. I think the Renekton was like might as well have been his Jace, beloved Jace that could go side lane or something. But I think like and Shook on an early game jungler that impacted like Rek'Sai or whatever is good too. So I think some of these picks works good for them.
Well, let's see what the Unicorns of Love decide to ban out. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, it's going to be game 2 between the Ninjas in Pyjamas and the Unicorns of Love, looking to see if NIP can close it out. Ooh, fly shoes.
Nice socks.